Steve?
That's new.
Oh, okay, whatever. And so this is totally off the cuff. It wasn't planned or anything. I think I'm about the third stringer, fourth stringer, or whatever, but that's okay. Uh, yeah. Okay.
You would.
Okay. So the these three parameters I'm going to talk about, the default values for those evolved during the times of spinning disks. And now that we've got solid state disks, we've got some tuning opportunities. So I'm going to try to hold this up so you can get some sense of what I'm talking about here. Okay.
Should focus if you give it a second. It's just,
Okay.
there it is.
All right. If you take a look here, what I did was I generated a bunch of new files, uh, made it in a repeatable fashion. They had pseudo random data in it, and I had it so that it was absolutely repeatable, so I could change kernel parameters, run the script again, and see exactly what kind of effect those parameters would have. This right here shows it shows the amount of data traffic going to the disk. This is disk writing from the disk cache, and along the left-hand side, you see we got 100,000, 200,000, and so forth. That's the number of 4K pages that are being committed. The top graph here that I'm holding up is how the default kernel parameters cause the system to behave. As you can see, we've got gaps between the peaks, and we've got pretty big peaks. Now, part of the test, the benchmark, was I had it generate a bunch of data, commit it to disk, and at the end of the data creation, I had it do a sync to force the rest of the data to disk. And the big chunk of data here, that's the data that was left over. That's what happened after the sync happened. And so there's a lot of data left over on that. Now, I took 3 kernel parameters, and I'll post those parameters and the suggested values on the website so that you guys can implement them if you want.
Google Groups?
The meetup. Rick's, yeah.
Put it on that.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Meetups is different than Google Groups. Google Groups is the email list. We can put it out on the email list as well.
Okay.
And Google Groups, I can post it up here somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't use it for that normally. So.
Right. And before I show you the second graph, I just want to mention something. If you had a water pump that was rated for 10 gallons per minute, and you ran it 1/4 of the time, your equivalent throughput would only be 2.5 gallons per minute because you're not running it all the time. But what would happen if you ran it all the time? You get the full benefit of that. This is what happens when you modify those kernel parameters. In essence, you're draining the disk queue every second. This is the kind of performance you end up with.
Right there. You're good.
That's good.
Yeah. You can see that the peaks are a lot smaller, and there's almost no gaps after the thing gets going. You can see that it's committing the data to disk almost every second. And at the end of the data correction or the data creation here, there's no data left over to be committed to disk. It's already, as soon as the data is created, cache, bang, is sent to disk. And because it's a solid state disk that I was doing this on, there's no elevator involved. There's no delay. There doesn't need to be any delay. And so that's what happens when you're running your pump all the time. There's another positive effect of this, and that is I've seen cases where there's close to 1 million dirty pages of cache just queued up, ready to be committed. The system has to keep track of that somehow, and it takes the CPU some effort to keep compiling all that stuff because it doesn't just compile it once. It compiles it every time it needs to know what it is. And so you've got the CPU counting through all this crap all the time, and it's chewing up a bunch of CPU power. Yes,
So you're losing cycles.
you're losing CPU cycles just by delaying in the time it takes to commit it. If you commit it immediately, then you've got almost zero in that dirty page collection. And so it's really fast. It reduces the total amount of CPU overhead. Um, I don't have any hard numbers, but my best guess based on my experiments so far, and I'm in the process of documenting all this, the combination of the initial or the direct improvements in computer performance plus the lessening of the CPU overhead, we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of probably between 20% and 40% more CPU power just by changing 3 parameters. And these are the parameters. Let's see.
There you are.
Yep.
Yeah, BM
Beautiful.
dirty,
Through the
background
bytes, 65 by
Expire center
36.
6.
Expire, it's 100.
Yep. And
And
dirty write back
back.
center 6. Yeah.
And that's enough to gain about 25 to
Yes.
40% of your CPU power.
Yes. As near as I can tell right
Yeah.
now, but I'm in the process of
Yeah,
documenting
verifying.
all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's, in the old days, the slowest thing in your computer, the thing that took most of your time
Yes.
was waiting for the hard drive to get a sector to come under the heads
Right.
and, and get the head access to the right location. Now with solid state drives, that's point, there's no more delay there.
Were those all routines that you modified, designed for that, what you just talked about?
Those were designed to be modified and customized. So,
in the kernel.
Talking about you gotta wait for the right second to get under the head.
yes,
So it was, that delay was.
that was designed to take that into account so you could have a bunch of writes so that the elevator could order the writes across the disk so it could efficiently go through and write all that stuff out the disk.
So
Within
with solid
3
state
seconds.
disk, you do away with that.
Yes.
Speed things up for them.
Solid state disks don't have any need for any ordering of the commits. You just blow it right on there. There is another benefit to doing this, especially on things like Raspberry Pis. Raspberry Pis have had a long-standing problem with the SD, the little memory cards getting corrupted. Well, the reason they get corrupted is the default values for these 3 parameters allow there to be about a 35-second delay between the time when the data goes to cache and the data gets committed to the card. With this, you have between 0 seconds and 2 seconds, and it's bang, it's on the card. Guess what happens if you turn off your Raspberry Pi and there's no data in the cache? Everything, it goes down in an orderly fashion. There's no corruption on the card. Ever since I put this on my Raspberry Pis, I've had 0 problems with corruption.
But what Kevin came across was early on, the power supplies for Raspberry Pis were inconsistent.
Yeah.
So it caused a lot of corruption.
Yes,
So the question becomes, if we have better power supplies,
yes.
does it matter?
Yes. you still shut the machine off. It can get corrupted under those circumstances. But if there is, if there are power supply problems, this also guards against that because it narrows that window of vulnerability down. So it still helps.
Yeah, because if you're cranking your CPU cycles by another 25%, you're running the processor harder, taking more power,
Yes.
getting more heat in the processor as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So remember, he had optimized and got the CPU temperature down substantially just in optimizing core parameters
Oh, yeah.
in that.
Oh, yeah.
And he did a lot of recompilation of the kernel to optimize for the hardware of the Raspberry Pi, which never was done. Why Raspbian wouldn't have done that is beyond anyone's sight.
Right.
Why the hell wouldn't they optimize for their own?
It's like any
CPU?
vendor, it's get the
Yeah.
product
Yeah.
out
Is this
there.
a compile time adjustment, or is this like you configure this in the ETC?
You go to etc slash syscontrol.d, put a file in there with those three values, and
It pops it?
it pops it. That's it. There's no recompiling or anything necessary. So it's a 2-minute modification.
One demo it? What?
ETC
Sure.
slash-
we can demo it.
Is that in the
What the
paper?
heck? What's that?
Is that in your paper?
The exact values?
No, the values and the location of the filing.
The location is not, but the values are. And I can just tell you what the location is.
Reason to be here.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
that was ETC slash what?
sysctl.d.
Okay, I'm getting that. Okay.
Yeah.
You gonna put the parameters up?
Yeah. Yeah, I can, yeah. And I'll type them in here too.
And your system's still running since you've been in it?
Pardon me?
And your system's still running since you've been in it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, that's not saying I didn't have to.
Yeah. So,
You didn't blow it up yet, huh?
just
How's
wonder
that?
if you were tinkering or actually productive.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm following something. Either
okay.
brainstorming and getting and doing something or something along those lines.
Oh, the magazine?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's what's on, Tim? Well, I just plug it in and charge it.
You can get them online now.
I have a
Essentially what
subscription.
you're saying. Essentially what you're saying.
Oh.
Got that one?
They woke up during the high school.
I have it right, let's see. Let's go in here, video. Which one's first and second port here? I don't think nothing matters really. You know, this side,
Oh, yeah.
plug them in there, Ed. Just grab it.
What's really fun watching them.
And then I gotta find,
People will have ASL interpreters for incredible in their hands. Wow, it's impressive. And then the rapper will just like stop and be like, holy fuck.
Hey Ed, can you hear me? Hey Ed,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
yes.
Quick question for you. I noticed that your 3 settings were specific to SSDs. How does one tell that one has SSDs on the system as opposed to the, spinning drives.
Oh, okay. There is a place under /sys, I think, that you can access that will tell you whether any given device is a spinning disk or non-spinning. And that's a really good question. I'm glad you brought it up because I can also give or provide a really simple shell script to run that will tell you, it'll list out all your devices and tell you whether or not they're spinning.
Okay. Yeah, I would appreciate that. Between all the Unixes, it might be different, it might be if you're on the Raspberry Pi versus a 386, versus your laptop, might be a different setting or a different place where that knowledge might exist. I'm not sure if it's standard.
It's
So that's where.
rather standard. It has part of the path is going to be the actual hardware name of the device.
Oh,
And
okay.
that will differ as opposed to if you've got an SSD, it's going to come out one way. If you got a regular
Drive. Mhm.
laptop thing, whatever.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. Be a cool script to see. Yeah. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome. Yes.
For those specific parameters, is it a universal, it works on all hard drives you have attached to the system? Or can you tune it to be for specific hard drives?
This is across the board for everything. Now, there is another setting for the elevator that is specific to every file system that can be different. And so on any solid state drive, you want to turn off the elevator because you're telling the CPU to take all these disk commits and figure out which is the most efficient order there is, and it's unnecessary work on an SSD. It will not cause your system to blow up. Okay, that's the first thing. It may, yeah, right. It may cause your disk to run slightly slower due to the lack of opportunity to do its elevator thing, because this is going to blow stuff right onto your disk. And so maybe a slight slowdown, but I'm not sure it'd even be noticeable unless you're actually getting on it. Yeah. Actually, these are the settings I run on my regular desktop. It's got a solid state drive for the root drive, but it's got a 2 terabyte spinning disk, and it's been running just fine with that. There you go. Yeah. Risk mitigation. You can get away with an unlimited amount of experimentation and a little bit of foolishness if you thought ahead and mitigated your risk. Yeah, that's a hard lesson for most of us. I learned it the hard way myself.
I'm not sure if this is this or not. Try it. Looks like it does. All right. Let me see if I can get that switched. Source. HDMI. Not seeming to boot. Usually comes up on the display. goes. Okay. All right. Cool. Maybe. There it is. All right. You're up and running. Okay.
Oh,
Now, this is Ken's version of Ubuntu for the Raspberry Pi. So those parameters may be already set. I don't know if that's gonna work.
okay. Was there some magic to making
Well,
the pad?
not sure if that's gonna work plugged in directly or not. I don't know your model. I'm gonna see if this might work as a keyboard if it's plugged in directly, but. I'm trying to see if one of these would behave itself as a, try this one.
I don't know if that's a data or if it's strictly. That's what I'm for this one. Let's see if that.
Ooh,
Oh, that
I've
works.
I've got a
Okay,
pointer. Okay, let's see what we can do here. All right.
okay, so for all you people at home yet, you gotta be here to see it. Well, actually, I could actually do this too. Okay, there you go. Probably not. Gonna see it. All right. I see we're doing something. All right.
Let's see if I can get. Okay, where's my dash? Password for Pi.
Password
Okay,
for Pi. It's probably just
Just
Raspberry or is it
raspberry.
all lowercase Raspberry?
Raspberry. Ah, okay. All right, let's get down to the rack. Aha. Okay. We got some stuff in there already. Let's say 99.
Changing VI 99 dash.
We'll call it EJS.
Oh, you're
Start
gonna create it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, E.
EJS.
Okay, that's your initials.
Those are my initials.
All right.
Okay. Now let's see how many times I can fat figure this thing.
Well, it's easy to fat finger that small.
I mean,
keyboard.
I'm fat and I got fat fingers, so it's going to be easy.
Well, that's a tiny keyboard.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Why am I not?
Not in the screen. There we
Oh,
go.
okay. All right.
Here
Here
we
we
go.
go.
Size keyboard. VM dot
Dirty
dot
underscore.
oh underscore. Okay.
But
Background or bytes. Oh, you can't quite see the screen. Okay. Space
Equal
equals
65.
65 530. Okay.
now,
The default is background ratio.
Background.
Will be 10, and that's 10% of RAM.
Oh,
This is bytes. This is basically, this is making our disk cache so small that nearly anything that goes to cache is going to get squirted out directly to the storage. That's the idea of going to bytes as opposed to ratio. Okay.
What I'm seeing here, that's about
That's right. Correct. I'm creating a brand new file. Okay. It's just come on.
What new line?
PM dot dirty underscore X
I said it'd be
Fire.
friendly.
underscore. Oh, got a 4 in there. Cents.
That's
ISEC.
femtoseconds with the 100th of a second.
Oh, okay, cents a sec. Hundredth of a second.
So
Okay.
instead of expiring the data in the cache every 30 seconds, we're going to expire it in 1 second.
So that's 1 second. Cents a second.
Yeah.
Well, I know what it means, but usually it's milliseconds or microseconds.
Yeah, some of these kernel parameter names.
Okay, VM dot dirty underscore right back underscore centoseconds centosecs equals.
And that's going to be 100 as well.
So it'll
Okay.
expire and right back. Okay.
Yep.
Oh. This is where I always get hung up on BI, how to get out. Control X.
Okay, that's the special sauce right there. Now, if we say this control minus P, then the name of that file,
99 dash. Oh, CON F. There you go, got it.
here we go. Now we do,
System control, just add, change the settings directly in.
Yes.
In the frame, in,
that does the same thing as rebooting the system.
okay,
So that's a permanent change. Now,
Oh,
anytime it reboots, it's going to come up in that mode.
okay.
Just change the rules back right now instead of having to upgrade it.
Right.
Oh, that's fun.
So these are the all the kernel parameters. then?
Those are all the VM curl parameters.
Okay.
Yeah, it allows you to look at the whole thing.
So what other things have you been looking at? There's overcommit, kilobytes.
Let's see.
Over, under, one.
I'm
Ratios, memory,
not seeing them here.
expire seconds, that's dirty time, expire seconds is 4320,
Yeah,
43200.
yeah, that's a different category of things.
Oh,
That's
dirty time. That's when you're out at the nightclubs.
Gee, how do you know that, Rick?
I don't know.
So the
So growth dirty. Dirty.
the values that we changed are right here, and there, and there.
Okay.
Now that Raspberry Pi, anytime it writes anything to cache, it's going to immediately commit to disk, and it's going to make it more stable operation as far as integrity of the data on the disk. It's also going to take up less CPU power to manage that, because if you're, say, downloading a 2 GB file from the the web, it's not gonna wait until the cache is 2 GB before it starts flushing. As soon as it gets anything in, it's gonna slam it onto the disk.
Yeah, that's good. So you don't have anything waiting in RAM and taking up
Exactly.
CPU time
Exactly,
trying to manage the disk cache.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's no longer disk though,
Well,
Right.
It's all RAM.
Solid state.
Yeah.
Disk
Well,
equivalent.
you know what? Couple of the guys in the amateur radio club at Akron just built new machines, and they're using solid state drives that actually have sockets on the motherboard. It's an M2 socket.
Oh, right.
M.2 socket. And I didn't even realize they were doing that on motherboards, tablets and things like that. But putting two of these sockets now on motherboards, and you put other things in there, not just SD cards, not just solid state hard drives, but it's more universal memory bus, or an I/O bus to the processor. It's pretty impressive bandwidth that thing has.
Well, then new component computing
Yeah.
for Raspberry Pi, the host board.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them out there that have M2
Oh, do
slots
they?
on.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, and you just, and the processor board just mates right on.
Oh, I see.
So in a sense, they've got a slightly larger landscape. And people are manufacturing all kinds of capabilities in that host board.
Yeah, because they're putting SSDs effectively in everything. Your cell phone included, but tablets and anything else. Obviously, you don't want a SCSI or old terms, but you don't want a whole hard drive type bay, dedicated to basically just the RAM. So
Right.
you just might as well drop it all like RAM. In fact, I'm kind of surprised they don't just have RAM slot. Well, it's different kind of RAM. But that's basically a RAM socket for SSD RAM, for non-volatile RAM.
Came across an article that showed that there's I can't think of the company, but they're making modem
Oh,
fit
modem.
to fit in the M2 slot.
Why would anyone use modem in the last 20 years?
I mean, they already have Wi-Fi cards.
Oh, yeah.
For the M2. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than just storage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a general purpose bus.
Yeah, it'd be really close.
Yeah.
Doesn't it just stand up?
No, it lays flat. And there's different lengths.
The things like Wi-Fi cards, specifically Wi-Fi cards, that have like little things you have to attach and connect.
Oh, okay, right. To get
But-
outside the box.
Outside of that, it's on the card itself.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, he doesn't have the light to the-
Oh, yeah, it's an external antenna.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So you have coax coming off. Yeah, that would be a good topic if anyone's real familiar with them too. No, really, I never really realized they were putting them on motherboards, so the kids were building new gaming computers. It's like, really? It's on a motherboard.
Originally, it was used, if I remember correctly, it was originally used for Wi-Fi cards and laptops.
Oh, okay.
That's the first place I saw it.
Yeah,
Because they made it so that it could be slapped
flat,
flat
yeah.
against the motherboard.
right,
so they have straight.
right.
Yeah.
And they have different lengths. There's, I think, like 3 or 4 different length cards, and there's a screw on the end of the longer cards to hold the card down.
Yeah.
Because the connector is spring loaded. You put the card in at like a 30-degree angle, and then when you angle it flat against the board, that's putting pressure on its contacts. So you need to keep, have a screw or something maintain that thing down on the board. There's no clamp. It's a screw connection on the end of the SSDs. And they make different size ones for different size SSDs. Different devices will be different lengths. Some of them just tiny little parts, probably like Wi-Fi cards, small comparatively.
The big thing you also have to worry about for M.2 cards and SSDs is they will get hot.
Yeah. motherboard came with a heat sink that basically goes down against the SD card, and that takes care of the heat problem.
And now you have vendors like Corsair trying to sell you
Heat sinks.
water cooled heat sinks
Oh, God.
for your SSDs.
Yeah, there is one more point I'd like to make that speaks to the question about if you've still got spinning disks. You can take your Expire SNSX, bump that up to 500, and that'll be a good compromise value
For a
for a
spinning
spinning
drive.
disk. The other things can remain the same.
Okay. Wow. That's good. So everything else, the drives have their own cache built into them anyway.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
most of your drives have.
Yeah, I did a lot of benchmarking, and past 5 seconds, you don't get any appreciable benefit.
No.
Because think of what your computer is doing when it's accessing your disk. If it's copying a file, it's gonna read the whole thing, it's gonna write the whole thing. Yeah, it's gonna bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
But basically, as soon as it's done writing that file, it's gonna go off and do something else. It doesn't need 5 seconds to think about it.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, 5 seconds is a long time.
Yes, yeah, when you think in terms of Raspberry Pis, it's running over gigahertz.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
doing times
But you
4.
notice the new Intel chips they're talking about running them at 5 gigahertz now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Well, they're getting the geometry down to the point where they can run higher speeds, get lower gate capacities, and everything else. You shrink that geometry.
IBM has come out and said that they can get to 2
Nanometer.
Yep.
Yeah. That's getting down there. It's gonna have to shuffle those electrons through some pretty small pipes. But, yeah, that's what they're doing, and they're getting down to the point where, I don't know how, they must use e-beam to write the lithography format. You can't get any,
Yeah,
shorter, smaller gap in your light wave. They haven't
Exactly.
used UV in years, and it's all e-beam. Because geometries have gotten down below visible light spectrum, or even UV. for that matter.
But Intel's still putting out 14 nanometers on most of their processors. So, and AMD is smaller.
Yeah. The
Smaller
guys, the Dopey's. Well, they make it, neither does, well, they make them overseas. They make them overseas. Japan. Oh, is it? AMD's made by.
You can make the same argument of NVIDIA.
That's true. Well, look at,
What? Yeah.
all that stuff found out. Yeah, and it's, well, like, any of the ARM cores, ARM doesn't make anything. Yeah, that was basically just, they designed them and licensed the technology.
yeah, it's the outsource.
Yeah.
Well, the government wants.
Someone bought ARM.
I don't know.
I don't remember now. Somebody bought them and they're still designing the chips, but I didn't know, so they didn't buy it, or Intel bought it. Intel bought it. Anyone know who bought ARM? Intel? NVIDIA, that's right, yeah. Yeah, I knew somebody big bought them, like they don't make silicon, they never did. They just find them and then farmed it out. Sold the copyrights. Yeah, man.
But the M1 chip for the Apple is ARM created.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you think most.
So did anybody have any questions or anything?
Can we tell from like core temperature or anything else? If there's any optimization? I don't know.
It'll probably run a little bit cooler. But the only time this really makes a noticeable difference is when you're really pushing the chip. It's, if a chip is just loafing around, you can leave it at the default. Say
Yeah, it's not good for.
fat, dumb, and happy.
Yeah.
I can say that because I'm fat. But the harder you push the chip, the more these kernel optimizations show up. And especially on long run times as various things happen in your system. Good kernel optimizations allow your system to start fast, and there's no degradation of speed with uptime.
Yeah.
I've run into that in a lot of cases, and I've got countermeasures for all that stuff. Generally speaking, the default parameters lag current technology by at least 10 years as a general rule.
Wow.
And so it's unusual not to be able to boost a computer speed by at least 25%. I don't feel like I'm really having a good day until I can boost it at least 50%. And the systems I got running at home that I pounded on, those are running more than 2x of what the defaults would give. And so I enjoy speed.
Oh, yeah.
I want to take a little modest computer and give it some real kahunas to run with.
Top gun. I have the need for speed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a shame that they're not optimizing. I mean, everyone's got newer hardware. Why they don't
Well,
set up parameters? So
when you think of it, I boil it down like the difference between a violin maker and a violin player. These guys are making a great violin when they're working on Linux. I mean, it's just got all sorts of really good stuff. But it's unusual to find a violin maker that's also a virtuoso violin player.
Right.
It takes somebody that focuses on the playing part to really look at it. I mean, I got a degree in physics and a strong background in math. So that's how you address all of it. That's the mountain I stand on when I look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing this?
Yeah.
And so I start looking at it, and sometimes I find that my ideas full of crap, and other times I find a gem. So it just no predicting it. You just have to look and measure.
Yeah.
You don't know anything until you've actually measured how it performs.
Yeah, you got to give it a benchmark to work
Yeah.
against.
And I've been surprised a lot of times.
Well, with a guy that's embedded here.
Yeah.
You're an embedded technology.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I've done that over the years too. Chris is really an embedded guy. Chris Holden. I mean, he's been here. He's given talk online over the last year. Chris
right,
Holden, he was
right.
my old student assistant. And
He
he's the
did
guy
the
who
last two, right? About a month ago.
jumped in there about a couple months ago.
Right,
on
and he
embedded
did two, right?
Yeah, that's right.
One on Python.
No, that's someone else.
Okay.
Python. He did talk on embedded systems and what he's doing in his job. He was talking about some of his development jobs that he's doing. But no, the guy that did Python was Jason or Justin. Justin.
Oh, right,
That gave that talk.
right. Justin Smith.
Yeah, he was going to give it. He would have been here tonight, but house closed and he had to get paperwork out the door.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he was tied up doing that a little bit. But that's good. Well, thank you, Ed. That was putting you on the spot, but did great.
Well, this is how I actually prefer to do it because I wasn't up last night trying to go to sleep because of talking.
Right.
If I walk in with something and something else falls through, that's
I
fine.
happen to keep Raspberry Pis playing around in my bag, so
Yeah.
As one does.
yeah, that's right. Gotta
Oh,
have
yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. Now, play with that summer.
Well, glad it worked out, and we'll see about sending you the
Oh, yeah,
posting
yeah. That'll be
stuff
good.
along with a script.
Turn the camera back around here again and
Yeah.
back in the
And thanks
spotlight.
for the loan of all the
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
there.
No, that's worked out great. I'm gonna go back to D sub 1, I think. And, okay. Well, guys online, whoever's still there, let's see. And we are gonna be back to, so Dave, did you get something, did you see enough there to make sense out of everything?
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Good job.
Okay, I'm gonna exit full screen here. And we're gonna go to gallery view. All right, well, there's just three of you there, so that's all right, or three of us there, I should say. All right, Dave and G, catch you guys later. I'm gonna shut it down so we can pay our bills and get out of the shop here.
Yep.
So,
Very good talk. Thank you so much.
yep, we'll see you next month, maybe.
Yep.
Show up in person if you can.
I will try. Yes. Thanks.
Okay, take it easy. I'm gonna close her down
Yep. Bye.
as soon as I stop the recording. Okay, stop the recording.